Hi everyone, welcome back to my series Decades of Action Challenge. Or maybe it's the Decades of Action Challenge. I haven't made up my mind yet. My sleep schedule has been really messed up the last few days. I woke up this morning at around 4 in the morning. I didn't feel tired at all to go back to sleep, so I stayed up until about 7 and then slept until 11, so I've only got a very short amount of time to make this video and post it before I need to go to work today. I need to stop doing these videos like at the last minute. Should record them a few days ahead of time. Anyway, so this week's entry is The Driver. Sorry, I'm getting confused with Drive, starring Ryan Gosling. This is The Driver from 1978. Yes, 1978. That's what we're up to right now. The second decade in the 5-decade series that this will end up being. By the way, Tom Breihan posted his latest essay on avclub.com early this morning. I got home and looked at it as soon as I looked at it as soon as I got home after work this morning, which was a little after midnight. It was, of course, on Face Off, which he mentioned in his previous essay for 1997. So I immediately scrolled to the bottom of the article to see what his 1998 choice would be, and it's not Saving Private Ryan. Nor is it Ronin. It's actually Blade. Breihan has picked Blade, starring Wesley Snipes, for the most important action movie of 1998. So I guess we're not waiting around for the Dark Knight or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're getting started on the comic book movies right away. Okay, great. So that was a wrong choice on my part. I've only guessed 9 out of 16 of the movies so far, starting not at the beginning, but with 1983. So yeah, my average goes down a little bit more. So anyway, The Driver, Breihan points out, is a movie that undoubtedly inspired Drive with its nameless and mostly silent getaway driver that Ryan O'Neal plays. And I guess he's part of a criminal underworld where everyone kind of knows each other. Similar to, say, John Wick. This is something that Breihan points out in his article. I am not, like, totally on board with the whole sort of, like, fantasy criminal social circles in this case. It really seemed like these guys maybe just knew each other by reputation rather than it being like a whole network of people that all call each other when jobs come up, you know, kind of like how they do in John Wick when everyone gets a text message saying, reward for Keanu Reeves, you know, however many $1 million or what have you. It's not like that. Not just because there's no cell phones in the late 70s. I was more seeing comparisons with Heat, actually. And I know there's more films like the kind of ones where cops and crooks acknowledge each other's roles that they play to each other, while not, you know, giving the game up. You know, if you take a look at the conversation that occurs in The Driver about halfway through, Bruce Dern basically shows up at Ryan O'Neal's crappy little apartment to talk about, you know, what's going to happen the next time the driver, as he is called, tries to pull another score. Bruce Dern, the cop, is going to be waiting for him. And this is a lot like the scene with Pacino and De Niro, in which they sit down at the coffee shop and acknowledge each other's you know, paths in life, and say, we're not going to, you know, come to blows right now, but, you know, we'll meet up later on, and when we do, it's on. There's Ryan O'Neal basically pulled a job earlier in which he in the beginning of the movie, he picks up a couple of guys who rob a casino and drives them all over the place, being chased by cops, eventually loses them, and also gets rid of the vehicle. But when he does this, he takes his special little pick that he uses to unlock a car that isn't his. He tosses it in the vehicle rather than throwing it away somewhere else. The cop, Bruce Dern, finds the wrecked vehicle in a junkyard and finds his special pick. And when he shows up at Ryan O'Neal's apartment, he shows it to him and he says, I think this might be yours, you know. And Ryan O'Neal, of course, being, you know, smart enough not to incriminate himself, doesn't admit that it's his, doesn't admit that he's a getaway driver, doesn't admit, you know, anything like that. But at the end of the conversation, he accepts the special pick back from Bruce Dern, and there's this silent acknowledgement. It's like, okay, you know, we're going to do this. We're going to, you know, meet again on the battlefield, as it were, and this is sort of like our timeout, kind of like that coffee shop scene in Heat, which actually occurs under more believable circumstances than it does in Heat. I like Heat, but Heat has some problems, and The Driver, being a more minimalist film, doesn't have some of those same problems. For one thing, it doesn't have a histrionic Al Pacino performance. Bruce Dern instead is the real guy with a personality in this movie. Everyone else is sort of cool and very, very silent and only says what they have to. The crooks, the femme fatales, the drivers, everybody like that, they're all like very sort of closed off from everyone else. They do what they do. They do what they gotta do, and that's pretty much the story, whereas Bruce Dern is just like, man, you wouldn't believe this guy, this driver, he's incredible, you know, he's pulled so many jobs before, I'm gonna get my hands on that guy, I'm gonna catch him, man, it's gonna be great, you know, I'm gonna do it. You know, this film was directed by Walter Hill, and Walter Hill actually dominated the first few movies that I saw in my film studies class in high school, and I just didn't understand that at all. We watched 48 Hours and Extreme Prejudice and Band of the Hand and a bunch of other movies that I just didn't think were very good at all. Also, one of the films we watched was The Warriors, which is a very seminal action picture, a gang picture. I wasn't like a huge Walter Hill fan after that or anything, but the next movie that came out in the theater that Walter Hill directed starred Mickey Rourke and Morgan Freeman and Lance Henriksen. Was called Johnny Handsome, and I liked that movie a heck of a lot at the time. And I was sort of primed, I guess, for a new Walter Hill movie or what have you, but since it was, I guess, more contemporary, I enjoyed it more, but I don't know, I've always thought Johnny Handsome was a really terrific movie. And you should definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. But I wasn't, you know, really up on the whole sort of history of Walter Hill and what have you. And I'd never seen The Driver before, never seen it. You know, only saw it this week for the very first time, but I did like it quite a lot. And I liked it so much, in fact, that I was kind of, you know, having these silly fantasies about things that would happen in the latter part of the movie. There's a scene where Ryan O'Neal goes to a train station to pick up a briefcase that's in one of those lockers, you know. That's something that bad guys do in the movie quite a lot, or crooks anyway. They'll get a coin out of their pocket, they'll pop it into one of those lockers that people use for a few hours at a train station and stash something valuable in there so that somebody else can get it later. So he goes to get the briefcase, and I just thought, you know, I know that, you know, the cop, you know, Bruce Dern is waiting to catch him in the act. Wouldn't it be funny if he opens up the locker and Bruce Dern is crouched in there, hunched up like this, and points the gun down and goes, "Freeze, you're under arrest." Made myself laugh with that. When he opens up the locker, of course, there's nothing in there for the briefcase. And so when he takes the briefcase out and opens it, I thought, wouldn't it be funny if Bruce Dern's hand emerged from the briefcase with a gun and goes, "Freeze, you're under arrest," like some kind of Roadrunner cartoon. I just made myself laugh silly with that scene. Because Bruce Dern is the one who's sort of like big and sort of got a lot of zest to his performance, where everyone else is just like super cool. Also, Isabelle Adjani is in this movie. I didn't look at the credits closely, and I didn't know that she was in the movie. And when I first see her, I didn't recognize her. But man, is she beautiful! Wow, she stands out right away. She's sitting at a table with a bunch of other card players, and you're like, whoa, who is that? She's gorgeous. I didn't really become familiar with her until the 90s. As far as the action in this movie goes, there's some shooting and stuff, but the two big set pieces come at the very beginning and the very end of the movie, where we have these big epic car chases, and they were so good I can't decide which one is better. I'm going to have a tough time deciding which of those two chases in The Driver are which one is superior to the other, because they're both pretty darn great. So yeah, big thumbs up from me for this movie. Really enjoyed it a lot. Breihan's essay, if you'd like to read it, is linked in the description below, along with my Facebook page. The next movie that I'll be doing is from 1979, and guess what? More Walter Hill, because 1979 is when The Warriors came out, and so I'll finally be watching that movie again after not having seen it for, I think, probably 30 years. I have probably not seen, I don't think I've seen The Warriors since I saw it in high school, which would have been around, like, say, maybe 1989, I'm thinking, you know, and that's you know, that's close to, you know, Yeah, it's close to 30 years, you know, since then. You know, 28 years since I last saw it. I didn't like it much then. I thought it was pretty dumb, but maybe I'll like it more this time. We'll see. Thank you very much for watching. In addition to those links that I already mentioned, you'll also find the link to the playlist on my channel, where I've collected all these videos. Just 10 so far, aside from this one, but, you know, this is going to go all year. I'm going to go all the way up through 2016 at the very least, and maybe he'll have an entry, maybe Breihan will make an entry for 2017 in December of this year. But, yeah, one video every Friday, and now it's time for me to wrap this up and get it posted so I can get to work on time. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.